pleasure to be introducing you to this year's 2021 Nellie Talks. What is Nellie Talks? Nellie Talks is a virtual video series made to empower young women by having strong, independent, and impactful female speakers from all different kinds of backgrounds speak about their careers and experiences. This event is hosted by the Nellie McClung All-Girls Junior High program at Oliver School. This all-girls program is a junior high that focuses on the empowerment and development of young women and establishing leadership skills in those attending the school. This year marks the 25th anniversary of the Nellie McClung program, and we want to celebrate this milestone with some special alumni speakers. For the past several years, Nellie students have been organizing and facilitating our annual Power of Women event, or POW. At this large in-person event, speakers and students had the opportunity to interact in person. Unfortunately, due to the fact of the COVID-19 virus, we are unable to hold this uplifting and inspiring event in person. However, we believe this event will still be motivational and an eye-opening experience for all those watching. We are honored and thankful to have this opportunity to prepare and host this event, and are proud to say that this event has been primarily created by the Nellie McClung students. However, we would not be able to bring this vision to life without the help from our teachers, staff, and the Nellie L. McClung Educational Society, who helped make this event possible. Without further ado, we would like to present our first speaker in our very first Nellie Talks event.
Hi everybody, my name is Sarah and this is my mom, Leah. My mom is a single mother of two with 2 college degrees, working as a partner for the world's biggest law firm in the world. Her job involves solving problems and helping others, as well as teaching new lawyers how to do their job all day. Take it away, Mom.
Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for the nice introduction. As Sarah said, I'm a lawyer, and I've been a lawyer for over 25 years now, so I've been at this for a while. And so some of you may have seen lawyers on TV, or you may know some lawyers, but really a lot of people have kind of a fuzzy idea or maybe a mistaken idea about what we actually do. So some of the things that lawyers do include helping people when they have really complicated problems in their lives that involve the law. So for example, if someone is getting a divorce, they probably need a lawyer. For example, if someone is charged with a crime, they probably need to get a lawyer to represent them. If someone's charged with a crime, you may also have lawyers appear as the one who represents who we call the people or the crown in Canada. Sometimes lawyers help people come to Canada when they want to immigrate here. Sometimes people need some help after they've been fired from a job. Lawyers might help people with that. Sometimes lawyers do things other than actually help people face to face. Sometimes lawyers participate in the legal process and they stand for election so that they can be members of government and they can help to make laws, or they can also put their names forward to be appointed to become judges, so they actually make decisions based on the law. So there's lots of things you can do when you're a lawyer.
Okay, so what do you specifically do?
Well, I am a business lawyer. As Sarah said, my job involves helping businesses to make good decisions and make fair agreements. And so in that role, I work with my clients who usually are business owners, and I help them to negotiate with people they have contracts with to make sure that everyone is getting a fair deal. So I help them negotiate with their banks, I help them negotiate with their landlords, I'll help them negotiate with other businesses in order to make sure that people who are supplying things or buying things are getting what they bargained for. So that's the kind of thing I do.
Okay, so how do you become a lawyer?
Well, becoming a lawyer is kind of a long process. You need to finish a couple of years of university at least. Some people can get into law school after they've done 2 years of university. Most people have done at least 1 university degree before they go to law school. And law school is another 3 years. So most people do 7 years of university to get to law school, maybe 8. After that, you then become a student lawyer, and you have someone assigned to you who's responsible to give you a year's worth essentially of on-the-job training. It's called articles of clerkship, or articling as we call it. And so for that year, you learn the practical things about being a lawyer, and you go to court and you meet with clients, and you learn all the nitty-gritty stuff you don't learn in law school. After you do a year of that, then you write a bunch more exams. You take some more courses and you write some more exams. And after you're done all of your exams, then you are officially able to be admitted into the Law Society and become a full-fledged lawyer.
Okay, so you mentioned new lawyers or articling students. How are those people involved in your own job?
Oh, well, I work with articling students and lawyers in training all the time. Part of my job is actually to train lawyers who are learning how to be lawyers, and I've actually been responsible for 5 people over the course of my career who have been training to be lawyers and who've been going through that process I described, where they were doing their year of on-the-job training, and I was the person responsible for them. And so even if I don't have someone who is my very own student lawyer, I also help student lawyers and lawyers who are just starting out in their practices to learn how to do the things you need to do in order to become a good lawyer and to give good legal advice. So I take them with me to meetings. I show them how to draft contracts. I have them sit in with me on negotiations so they can watch what you do and what you say and how you act when you're in those kinds of situations. So I have students and young lawyers with me all the time. Also, in the course of my career, I've also been responsible for teaching some courses to student lawyers so that they have some information and skills over and above their university training that helps them to be good lawyers when they get into practice.
That sounds like a lot of responsibility.
Well, it's true. Being a lawyer is a lot of responsibility. People come to you with really complicated problems, and sometimes they come to you, depending on what kind of lawyer you are, sometimes they come to you at a time when they've had something really bad happen to them. They've been in a car accident and they need to get some help to get some compensation, so maybe they can have some physiotherapy or modifications to their house, or they can't work anymore. So that's a pretty bad thing to happen to somebody. I mentioned divorces. Divorces aren't happy things. So people are really stressed out when they come to you and they really need your help with that. Sometimes people have been, like I said, fired from their jobs. That doesn't really make people feel very good. So, they've got a lot of things they're relying on that job for, and maybe they have a family to support. And so, you're right. There's a lot of responsibility to help people through those tough times, to help them get a result that's really fair for them and for their families.
Mm-hmm. What part of your job involves generating business for your own business or company?
Oh, okay. Well, I work at a private law firm, and a law firm is a business. It's like, for those of you whose folks are in business, I am in business too. So I look for my customers are called clients to me, and they pay me for the time I spend giving them advice. And so it's important to be able to have people come to my business, and more people come to my business all the time. Not only do I have to make sure I have enough to make money for myself, but I have to make sure that there's enough work and business to be done for all those young lawyers I talked about, for all the people who work for us. There are lots of people who work at our law firm that we also need to make sure have got enough work to do so that we can pay them. So I am in a number of community groups where I just go out and meet people and get to know people and find out about their businesses and about how I can help them, and I do that all the time. One of the biggest things that I've done lately has been to be a member of an organization in Edmonton called the Association for Corporate Growth, and it's all about businesses and how you make them bigger. So that's been a great organization for me.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about the Association of Corporate Growth and some of the things you've done for that organization?
Oh, well, I'd love to. I think you're probably asking about the fact that in Edmonton, that the Association for Corporate Growth typically had a man president, and I was the first woman president. That's what you wanted me to say.
That was part of the question, as well as how you've brought more gender equality to that particular branch of the organization.
Well, thank you. I'm very proud to talk about that, actually. I joined that organization because it was going to be good for my business, and it was going to be good for me to get to know people in business. And so I joined the board, which is the group that makes the decisions for that organization. And when I joined the board, there were 25 people on it, and I was the only woman. That was 7 years ago. And I've been on the board ever since. I was the president last year. By the time I got to be the president, there were 8 people who really had the executive roles. They're kind of like your student council, your president, your vice president and stuff. And by the time I got there, I appointed half the seats to be filled by women. So I had half the women, or half the decision makers women, by the time I got to be the one who was in charge last year.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
So what is something that makes your job exciting?
Well, there are lots of things that make my job exciting. I really like dealing with businesses that are growing and that are expanding and that are doing new and different things. It's fun to help them do that stuff. As you mentioned, I work for the largest law firm in the world. And so some of my clients have business around the world. They do business in many countries. And so it's really interesting to be able to help them find good advice in various countries. I've worked with lawyers in England and in Italy and in Nepal and in the United States and in Russia, China, all kinds of places like that. So that's super neat. Because my clients are so big and they have business around the world, sometimes I've actually got to travel places, and not very exciting places, but I have got to travel on a private jet a couple of times to go and, I know, it's pretty exciting. So that's exciting. And what else can I think about there? Sometimes my clients, because my clients are so big, sometimes the things they do actually involve governments. And so sometimes I have to deal with people that you read about in the newspaper. And so I've met a number of prime ministers, a couple of mayors, a couple of premiers in the context of my job. So that's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's extremely exciting. So what are some of the challenges for women specifically in your job?
Well, it's gotten better as I've moved through my career. When I started out, it was really difficult because when I started in practice, I had to make sure that I could only wear skirts and they had to cover my knees. Those things don't happen now. Sarah asked me specifically to wear a pink suit today. That would not have been okay when I was a student lawyer.
We call it her pink power suit.
So things have gotten better. One of the things that can be challenging, certainly in the world that I work in with big businesses, when you're a young woman, is it's kind of tough to be taken seriously. When you're seen as the young junior person who's really not as knowledgeable, it can be hard to have credibility in those kinds of meetings and discussions. I'm sure that you can imagine that given that I've got clients that have business around the world, that there are demands on my time all the time, right? If it's, what time is it here right now? Right here, right now, it's 11 o'clock. Well, that means, for example, it's about 6 o'clock in England. So if I'm going to have a conversation with someone in England, I either have to do it super early in the morning or about now. Can't really happen much later than now. I have had dealings in Australia, for example, and those guys don't get to work until we're shutting down for the day. So the time demands can be very challenging with time zones, and businesses work around the clock. So there's a lot of time spent and a lot of kind of on-call work that's kind of challenging. The time can be difficult to manage, especially when you've got young kids and other things that you need to balance.
Young kid?
Well, you're not a young kid anymore.
I was when you started.
You were when I started, but you're not a young kid anymore. Anyway, so those kinds of things can be challenging, but you can work through them. And there's lots of things you can do to make that easier.
We know that this is happening during a pandemic, and this has been a very hard year and a bit for all of us. What have you been doing during the pandemic?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, one of the things I've been doing during my pandemic is working in this room, which is my home office. So normally I would be going downtown and I would be working in my office and I'd be meeting with people there. Now, many of my colleagues, in fact, my whole firm is working at home. So, we now connect by video call all the time. And we had to figure it out really quickly. There was no training.
There was tech support.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, Sarah did come over one day for tech support to help me figure out how to connect something because I didn't know how. I know a lot more now than I did then. But we really the things we had to do during the pandemic were to move home in a hurry and then figure out how to carry on our business from home in a hurry. And that meant we had to learn a lot of technology and a lot of platforms that we weren't familiar with or trained on, but we figured it out.
Yeah. And I have seen you from calling me every time you need to plug something in to now having, you can't really see it in here, but some advanced technology. In your home office that you probably wouldn't have been able to work at the beginning of this.
Oh, heavens no. No, I wouldn't have. One of the advantages about working in a big place like I work in is that I'm lucky that I have people who help. Right, exactly. Like IT, I have accounting people, I have people who keep corporate records, I have my receptionist who book my meetings. No, not anymore. All my job. And that's okay. Like I say, I figured it out, but Sarah's right. Things looked a lot different a year ago, and I've had to figure out a lot of things, and it's worked out okay.
Mm. Well, this has been a very interesting chat.
Thank you very much for having me, Sarah. It's been a pleasure to speak to you all.
It's been great having you here.
Thank you.
Au revoir.